Hi there everybody, it's UK independent demonstrator Halsey here from slimandstylish.com. Thank you all for joining me today. Sorry, I had a bit of a connection issue on the way in, it asked me to reconnect. I think it seems to do that if I schedule ahead because I've noticed it's done that before. So I'm just going to go into my YouTube on my iPad to see if anyone is there. Hopefully it's working okay. How is everybody? How's your Sunday? Have you had a good weekend? Hopefully you have. Okay, seem to be working. You might all hear me talk in a second though. I can never remember on my iPad whether it's the volume up or the volume down button that I'm pressing, so I'm either going to come out really loud or quiet. Oh, quiet, that's good. Hi everyone, hi Colleen. Good morning, 10 a.m. Hi Karen. Hey Norma, hope you're okay. Hi Audrey. Hey Cindy. Right, okay, so I have two cards today. This was actually going to be the one that I was going to show you because I found my silicone mat, by the way, everybody. I know every week I complain that I've lost my silicone mat because it's in my Stamparatus bag and I can't find my Stamparatus bag, but it fell down the back of my desk and I found it yesterday. So I thought, while I've got it, I'm going to do some mirror stamping because I know I talked about it. So I was going to do this card, which is using the Pampered Pets. And then as I was sitting waiting for making this one, I did another one with Dress to Impress. So I'm actually going to have a go at both cards. But the mirror stamping technique is great because when you've got one stamp in your stamp set, it means that you can flip it and actually get it stamped the opposite way so things can face each other. So these dogs can face each other. And I now happen to have a left and right shoe because Cinder's only had one shoe in this stamp set. So we're able to do it the other way. The tricky bit to actually flipping the stamp is being able to then die cut it. So I'm going to explain how you would do that as well. So to get started, you need a Stamparatus or stamp positioning tool and your stamp set. So I'm going to actually start off with the Pampered Pets, I think, because, you know, he's cute. Day off today, Audrey. Lucky you. I've got the whole week off. I know. Before I clear my desk, I am just going to remind everybody that I'm giving out a free stamp set with any orders over £60 between now and the 20th of August on my site at slimandstylish.com. You will need to use the hostess code, which I've popped at the top here on a post-it note. But a friendly reminder out the way, let's get started. Do you know what, Norma? It's you I'm doing it for because I remember mentioning my silicone mat and saying how I missed it because I would like to do some mirror stamping, and I remember you mentioning it, so I actually thought at the time about that, and I've actually been really silly and I haven't actually watered my my Stampin' scrubs, so not my Stampin' scrubs, my chamois. So instead I'm going to use my Stampin' scrub, which is still in the catalogue, so I'm going to use this instead of my chamois today. In fact, I'm not. I am going to go and wet my chamois because I do need it. I will just speak 2 seconds. I'm really sorry. That's 2 weeks I've had to rush off on you. I'm really sorry. Okay, yeah, you do need your chamois because when you actually come to wipe your silicone mat, the Stampin' scrub isn't that flexible to do it. So to get started, you need your stamp. So I've got my dog and I'm going to line him up on my mat. Okay. So I'm going to pop him, when you're using your silicone mat, by the way, hi okay, there is a little bit of an embossed ridge on the one side. You want to completely move that one out of the way. So I'm going to pop that at the top corner And I'm actually going to pop my magnet on it so I remember exactly where it is, because I don't want to touch that at all. Okay, so I'm going to pop my dog in and on my mat and pop him onto the Stamparatus that way. It will work with stamp positioning tools as well. And if you're not using the dies, you don't have to worry about using Stamparatus. You can just use a normal block. But I'm going to be showing you with the idea of you die cutting it out. Hiya honeybee, hope you're okay. So I'm going to use my memento, and it's best to use your memento because stays on or stain your silicone mat. And you're going to stamp your silicone mat. And because I'm a little bit like, I'm a bit of a worrywart, I'm actually going to pop the ink on this twice and stamp it twice. And then I've got a scrap piece of Whisper White. I'm going to pop my scrap piece of Whisper White into my Stamparatus, lie it flat against the mat, and then push down with the lid again. I haven't re-stamped it. I'm using second generation on there. So you do get the stamp the right way, but when you actually flip it over, you have got an imprint of what you'd put on the mat the other way round. So I'm just going to go and get my chamois out of the bowl of water that I threw it into, so I can wipe my mat. And the reason that I like doing it on the Stamparatus is because then when you die cut it, it actually has the picture on the back for you to put the dies around, because the dies are only one way. So I'm going to do it with the shoe now from the Dress to Impress suite to show you what I mean. So I'm just going to take him off. And I'm going to grab my shoe. I know that he was there, so I'm going to actually pop the shoe over on this side, so I know that it will fit on my paper okay. Pick it up. Ink once. And go again. And ink twice. The reason why I'm showing you with the shoe is because I have the die for this. I actually fussy cut the dogs because I didn't have the die for it. Okay, so you want to go again, pop your piece of cardstock in, and then bring the Stamparatus lid closed. And you now have the shoe in the opposite direction on that side as well. So the reason why you want to get the second generation stamp onto here is when you run it through your card machine, your die cut machine, if you use the backwards image, the die wouldn't work. However, having the second generation stamp exactly on the same place on the other side, you can die cut this and you'll get the other one out. So I'm just going to run this through my Big Shot, and I've just got it off screen to the side because if I try and do it on screen, we're going to have problems because I knock the camera. So I'm just going to pop it through, and you'll hopefully see what I mean when it's flipped. Okay, so I've run it through, and that's the die side. But actually now when I turn my die cut over, you still got the shoe just the opposite way. So it's kind of getting 2 uses out your stamps and 2 uses out your dies, if you know what I mean. So I left my dog in the machine. There he is. So I'm now going to stamp him the correct way as well. And if I hadn't put my shoe there, I could actually get him talking to each other on one stamp. But I was a bit messy with where I put my shoe, but I just wanted to show you how you can cut that correctly. So there's my dog that is the right way. My dog that is the wrong way. And then I've got my stamps. So I have the food bowl and the hearts. Oh, that's good, Cindy, hopefully. It is a really good technique because it kind of gives you double the amount of stamps you've got. And if you've only got one guy like this, it's great to give him a friend, because I always think he just looks lonely on the card. There's his food bowl. And I'm going to give him a couple of hearts. I popped some hearts onto this card. And I really wanted to try and make some spaghetti so that it looked like it was out of Lady and the Tramp. You know, I know it's two of the same dog, but just, it reminded me of the Lady and the Tramp scene. So I'm just going to stamp a few of those down. Pop my lid on. The blends that I used were Smoky Slate, Light and Dark for my dog. So what I actually did on him, so let's do my backwards one first. I used the dark around the outside. He's got a tail. I made sure I got all of his like extra fluffy hair. He's proper like a scampy dog, isn't he? And I'll do this one as well at the same time, so I've got them matching. You're going to try it today, Norma? Oh, it's really silly. Like, I got the silicone mat, and I know it is really good and useful for the glue, but actually I much prefer it for my mirrored stamping. We had a like an English bulldog a few years ago. Do you remember? It was so cute, and I remember mirror stamping him everywhere because he just looked grumpy and it was funny. But as soon as I saw this guy, that's what I wanted to do. And then I was gutted that I had lost my my silicone sheet. I was actually on a call crafting yesterday on Zoom with a couple of friends, and I said, I reckon it's fell behind the desk. And my mum had her hip operation not long ago, and she's got one of those big sort of claw things. So I just had a fish behind the desk with a claw thing and managed to pick up my Stamparatus bag that had fell down there, which was a good guess. And the silicone mat was still in it. I was so happy. But if you don't have the silicone mat, no need to worry. If you have a photopolymer stamp set and you have a big photopolymer stamp in it, you can use the back of the photopolymer stamp in the exact same way. And I'll show you that in a second. So it's quite versatile like that. So there's my dog. Oh, Norma. There's a few that Karen, who's on the call, she always says, have you got this stamp set? And I'll say, oh, no, or yes, I've just ordered, or whatever. And she'll come back and she'll say, oh, I'll wait to see what you do before I order it. And it always makes me smile. I only played with the big hearts because I cut them out. And then to glue them just seemed a nightmare with the little hearts. That wasn't really working. So I just went half with the dark Magenta Madness and half with the light. And the food bowl, by the way, was with light So Saffron. So I just coloured the hearts in. and I did one's colour with dark balmy blue and one's colour with dark flirty flamingo. And I did the nose with the ivory blend first, but then I felt it stood out a little bit too much, so I went over it with the smoky slate, the light one, and it just gave it a different tone. So there are my dogs. Hey Therese, hope you're okay. So like I said, I did fussy cut these out because I didn't have the dies, but if you had the die and you cut him out the right way, you can see from the blends coming through, it would be spot on the actual marks the other side. I tell you what though, I quite like him coloured like that. That might be a new way of me actually using my Stampin' Blend markers, because that gives off quite a nice sort of shabby-ish on the back. But yeah, so if I had a cut him, he'd have cut perfectly. So I actually already fussy cut them to save you all having to sit through me fussy cut him. And as you can see, I struggle to tell which one's the backward one. That one's the backward one. So I mean, he's perfect on that side and on that side, so that's why it's always better to get that second generation stamp off on the Stamper Artist. Okay, so I'm going to build my card up. There's my little bits, and then I'll show you how you can get your decoration, your mirror stamping effect without using the silicone mat as well. I just prefer the silicone mat because it's a big surface to work on, but you can do it if you haven't got one. So this is the DSP that's in the Playful Pet Suite, and I've got a 6x6 piece because I did a paper share and had one of my separate shares. I know, I did think I need to buy the dies, but I tell you my feeling with dies, Kay. My feeling with dies is I could fussy cut for 2 seconds and buy myself an extra stamp set. I'm so lazy like that, and I'll be like, yeah, I'll get an extra stamp set. But then later on, I do end up getting the dies and I lose my 10%. So really, because if you buy dies and stamps together in the catalogue, you normally get a 10% bundle discount. So it is better to do it up front in one go. But yeah, I make that error. So I'm just snipping off one line of this, which is Love Bark Woof Dig Chase Scratch Wag Play, and it's background to start again. So I'm just going to cut off 2 full lines of that, and it's probably about ½ centimetre if I was guessing, but I've just lined it up, so I cut them in. Oh, thanks Therese. I've been a bit like I've had naked nails for the past couple of weeks, and that's very unusual for me. I normally love nail polish on, but I got to the stage in lockdown where I thought I'm not really seeing anyone, so I'm not going to put any nail polish on. But I'm actually having my hair done this week, so I thought I'm going to do my nails. So I sat last night and popped them on so that when I get my hair cut, I feel like an actual human being again. I'm really looking forward to it. So I'm popping this. I've got a piece of Whisper White cardstock. This is 10.2 centimetres by 14.5 centimetres. And I'm just going to pop this along, flush along the bottom and flush along the top. And I'm actually going to try and line it up. So I start with the same word in both places. And my fine tip glue does have glue in. I can feel it move as I'm shaking it. Yeah, Karen, you've put an order in for Playful Pets. Have you put in for the dies as well? So I'm actually going to start that off with dig because I want the full word to be at the start. Oh. Okay, I'm actually going to give you a hint for this, which I've just realised, and hopefully I can still move it. If you put wag at the start, and you start with just the dot of wag. Oh, come on, you were moving so well. Keep moving, keep moving. There you go. What I'd done is I'd started with dig, but it actually only gave me half of scratch. Whereas if you actually put wag at the start, you can get full words, so you don't have to have half a word. That's what I'd done on this one, and it kind of finished with love rather than half of a scratch. So that's why I did my last minute change on it. Oh, and now because I've been fiddling, it's not straight. Okay, only we know it's not. I know the benefits of our multi-purpose glue. You can just wiggle. Oh, Honeybee, well, thanks for dropping in. It was lovely to see you. Enjoy brunch. And same at the top, and I'm going to start it again on wag. So I'm actually already going to cut that because I know where I want it. Oh, I can't start on wag at the top because it doesn't run out. Oh, which other one is a full one? Oh, chase is a full one as well. So if you go onto chase, that will get you all the way up to scratch. I don't like having half words. I was actually going to have a go at doing this with, have you seen the new stamp set in the Christmas catalogue? And it's got the sled in, and it's got a reindeer. And I actually cut them ready and did them so they were facing each other. But one of my friends, Karen, who normally joins this, I haven't seen her on, but Karen, if you watch back, this is for you, because I remember you left a message going, no, I don't want Christmas. And I thought, she'll kill me if I do 2 Christmas tutorials in a row. So I just line those up, popped my dimensionals on the back. I do like that effect of the blend coming through. Pop them up. And the food bowl. And so you can get them facing each other so they can talk to each other. Now, just for fun, just to tell you, these hearts are a pain in the bum. I wasn't going to say that on YouTube. I was like, no, don't say that. But then I thought, no, I'll tell you they are, because they're small and fiddly. So I actually, when I was cutting them earlier, and you can see how great my fussy cutting skills is, because I missed the black on some of them. I actually cut them flush on the black. With this one, I've tried to leave a little bit of a gap just to make them a bit bigger, so that I can use a glue dot, because I used fine tip glue on this and it was just, my hands were a mess. So I'm just going to cut this at 3 centimeters. And I've got my sentiment, which is, I hope your day is a real treat. I'm just going to stamp that on there. Yeah, for these ones, now they're a bit bigger, I think I'm going to use a glue dot, because it was messy earlier. But with these ones, they were just a bit too small for the glue dots. So there's that for up there. Let's get that popped on. And I haven't used any sort of fancy punch. It is just a 3 centimeter strip, and I've cut it where I've wanted to cut it and left a gap. Hiya Sophia, hope you're okay. doing mirror stamping. And not to worry though, because I'm going to do another one in a minute, so you'll still see the technique. And actually you'll be quite happy with the one I'm doing in a minute because it's using Dress to Impress. Hiya! Suzanne does lives, and she manages to put them on just on a Friday evening when I'm sitting down to eat. And so I sit through dinner with you on like quietly in the background. So people can't see, but I'm like, yes, I've got Suzanne on. She does great lives, Hullabaloo over on Facebook. She's a 3D project girl normally, and she does some fantastic ones. So I'm just going to stick my hearts around here, and you've got the idea. Okay, so I'm not going to stick the other two because you've seen me stick those ones. And down the bottom, all I did was grab the rhinestones and dark magenta madness, and I just coloured in 5 of those, trying to work out how many I did. I'd wait for that to dry before you stick your fingers on them, because otherwise you're going to get your cardstock messy. So I'm just going to put that to the side and I'll finish up in a minute. So back to my shoe on the Dress to Impress. So this is the card for this one, and I have already stamped the shoe so you can see, but I'm going to show you different ways that you can actually do it if you don't have the silicone mat. So what we did, Sophia, because I know you've just joined us, is I popped the stamp onto my window and using Memento ink, I just inked it up, and I've got my silicone mat in my Stamparatus, and I'm just going to stamp the ink onto the silicone mat. Okay, you absolute genius. Yes, I do own that. Oh, does the heart coordinate? Sorry, I got distracted. My ink's going to have dried in a second, but I've now got distracted. So that heart is pretty similar. And not only that, you could just cut out cardstock. I hadn't even thought of that, Kay. I'm so glad you're on the call. So yes, I'm just going to ink up this, and I normally stamp it a couple of times. And you know what, that moved, so I'm just going to do it again. That's why you like, or I prefer to use Memento, because you can just clean it straight off, whereas stays on and things like that is a bit messier. Put my magnet a bit closer, and I'm just going to double stamp it. And then you pop your cardstock in, Sophia, and you close the window down at the same time. And then you get your stamp this way, which is the right way for the die, but you also on the back have your stamp, which is the other way around. So if I die cut it that way now, I will have the back of the stamp, which I have here somewhere because I did it earlier. There. So I've die cut it the right way, and it's managed to then work out that if I want it for the back. So if you don't have the silicone mat, but you do have your photopolymer stamp sets, I'll show you another way how to do it. Oh, do you know I've got the well written as well? Oh, I wish you... Suzanne K, you've got to be around when I design, because it took me ages fussy cutting those little hearts out. Okay, so you want ideally a photopolymer stamp set that is of a larger size. So I'm going to a Wild Rose suite, and you want it to be ideally flat. So this one here, for instance, the distinctive back one, is perfect. I used to use the, is it All I Love or something like that? It was in the last one. It had a big sort of grungy piece. That used to be perfect for this. But you just want a stamp that is pretty flat and of a larger size, okay? And for this one, you want to pop the stamp into your stamp apparatus the wrong way round, okay? So it is completely the wrong way round, and this is the back piece, and this is the piece you normally stamp with. You want the back piece, and you want to stick that down. In fact, it would help if I stuck it down where my stamp roughly was. Okay, and it should stick to your foam mat or your backing on your stamp apparatus. You can then ink up your shoe and do exactly the same as what you were doing on the silicone mat, because it will still leave the imprint on the back of the stamp. Okay, you do that a couple of times. Pop your cardstock in, bring your window down, peel your cardstock off, and you've got your back imprint again of your shoe. So it does work on stamps as well. The reason why I like using the silicone mat is just because it's bigger and it's flat all the way over, and it's a little bit more flexible. But if you don't have the mat, it is fine to use the back of your photopolymer stamps. It works just the same. You just limit it on the shape and size. I wouldn't be able to use the dog, for instance, on this because the dog was just too big. I mean, he would have been too big, but the shoe is just the right size for that one. Okay, so I'm going to close that up. Now I've got 100 stamp shoes. I'm actually just going to run the other one through my big shot so I can pop that out. Let me just run that through. Again, I'm sorry I'm off screen. I'm hoping when we do get the new mini stamp and emboss machine that I'll be able to fit it in my videos and you can see what I'm doing. The standard one is going to be available on the 4th of August for demonstrators, because I know I've got a couple of demonstrators on here, and the start of September for customers. But if you're a customer and want to get it early, you can join up as a demonstrator and you can join my team, and then you can get it on the 4th of August. The mini cut and emboss machine is going to be coming later in the year. Hey Karen! Oh, that's good. Sometimes I worry afterwards and think, was I clear? Was I mumbling? But I'm glad it's come across well. So for the shoes, I'm using Highland Heather Dark and Light, and I'm just going to go around the edges with the dark and the sole bit. And I'm going to go over this quite a few times with the light because I actually decided to put it onto Gorgeous Grape cardstock, and we don't have Gorgeous Grape blends. So I went over it quite a few times because I just really wanted it to pop. So when I'm doing sort of smaller blends, I go around the outside with the light first, and then I know that I can just wiggle in the middle. And I know it looks sketchy to start off with, but I don't have to be precise if I'm going over it a few times. And then I just bring the dark to the light. And I find that a lot easier, and find that I don't go over the lines as much, because sometimes when I'm rushing I do skip out the lines. So there's one shoe. And I do prefer this stamp set when there's 2 shoes. I don't like it with a Cinderella version. I know I've tried to make this into Lady and the Tramp, but I don't like the Cinderella version of just 1 shoe. I do like having a left and right shoe to play with. So there's my left and right. I did the sentiment, kindness is always in style, because I just think that's a lovely sentiment. And I also used both of the flowers. So for the flowers, I've actually already got them stamped on this sheet of paper, and the way I coloured them was I used the light pumpkin pie, and I just did 3 little circles. Do you know what, Kay? That is not a daft idea. I then used the dark Say Saffron, and I went over the top of the circles with that. And then I used the light Say Saffron, and I used the bullet tip then and coloured the rest of it in to make quite a subtle sort of bud and flower. And for the leaves I used Just Jade, which I've now decided is the best green that we have, which is a huge statement because I love Granny Apple Green. But coming up with the Christmas catalogue at the moment, and I'm doing a lot of Christmas crafts, I've decided that Just Jade is a perfect green for doing all your spruces, for you doing your Christmas trees, your little elf hats. Just Jade is the colour. So yeah, I've just done it like that. And because I knew you were going to be sitting and watching while I hadn't got the die cut machine on screen, I actually pre-die cut them out for us before we started. And finally the sentiment, which I didn't pre-stamp and pre-cut because it is just a sentiment. Stamp that on. And I use the postage stamp punch, which is becoming so versatile. It's one of my favourite punches now. And I say that, I've just haven't put it close enough to the edge to get a nice bit around it, so I'm just going to chop that off. And punch. As Kay has made a brilliant suggestion, my Winker Stella's been brought in. And the Winker Stella will just, I'm going to do part of it so hopefully you can see the difference it makes to the shoe. And can you see that glittering? I'm hoping in my light you kind of can, but it just covers it in glitter. Actually doing this, I've just thought I will actually show you something else that I like to do when I put Winker Stella onto different things. So let me see if I can get that right so you can see shoe 1 and shoe 2. Hopefully you can see the shimmer on this one as opposed to the other one. Really hoping you can. So I'm just going to give it a second to dry and then I'll show you what else I like to do. In fact, I might show you at the end because it will take a long time to dry. So give us a second. Not the Winker Stella. The Winker Stella doesn't take too long. My other plan. So first of all, I'm going to pop these on. So I just popped a glue dot in each corner. And I like working from the sentiment out. I feel it's an easier way, then you get a full plaque and you can just pop it straight onto your Whisper White. So I'm lining the middle of my stiletto up with the corner of the postage stamp and bringing the toes in to meet. And because I've just popped a glue dot there, I can just play with this there. Well, I did have a plankoline. I thought, I've used the dogs, but I know some people look at the dogs and think, oh, I'm not a dog person, I'd preferred it to use the cat. So after I finished the dog one, I thought I would do a cat. And then I've sort of covered 2 cards and covered sort of what everyone would like. But my dog was looking at me like, you're cheating on me with cats. So I thought instead I would do a neutrally card, which was the Dress to Impress. I haven't used it for ages and I do really like it. So just building the sentiment actually up with the glue dots. And then I'm going to pop a couple of dimensionals on the back to keep it all in place. And I'm actually going to go around the edge of where the actual sentiment is. Oh, Audrey, is that where you work? You don't want to tell me that. Do you get a discount? I'll be in like every week. I'm a shoe hoarder. And half the shoes I've got I've never worn. They're just pretty, you know? Or I've worn them once and they've rubbed, so I've just sat them on top of my wardrobe so they look nice as like home decor instead. So I'm just lining that up on the card. Oh, it's a good job you're in Scotland. I'd be spending like all my pocket money there. Right. So I'm just then lining this up on the card as to where I want it, and I'm using that one. I was quite happy with that one. So before I do any more, I'm going to colour in my dots. I used the dark just jade. I did 3 of those on the smaller dots, and the dark Highland heather on 3 of the smaller dots as well. And I'm going to leave those to dry and attach this to my gorgeous scrape. Got some multi-purpose liquid glue somewhere. And put my card back in, and then Karen, Tilly, look away for a second. I'm going to be using the fine tip glue pen to make that shoe even more sparkly. So when I use the Wink of Stella on things, it sparkles so nicely, it really does, that I then like to pop some fine tip glue pen on the shoe, and it looks then quite enamelly as well as glitter underneath. But I know Karen's run out of a fine tip glue pen, so she's not going to be very happy with me for doing this. But I'll do one and then show you the difference between the two as well, so you can see if this idea is for you. But I always quite like this one, especially if the Wink of Stella's underneath. It looks lovely with the Wink of Stella underneath. You do want to have a piercing tool handy, because sometimes if there's air in the fine tip glue pen, you will get little bubbles and you want to pop those pretty quick. But hopefully you can see that as well as the sparkle now, it just glows. If you haven't got the take a pic tool, by the way, it's amazing. There's always heads around, so it will help you with whichever bits you're doing. Track that to the edge of the shoe. So that's the bit that I use to pick up my rhinestones and different things, but if I turn it round, then I've actually got a stabby tool, the paper piercer. Okay, so I'm going to do the second one. Where do I want my shoes to match now? I've got a left and right. I'll tell you a funny story actually. Next sale, they're a nightmare, especially sort of Christmas, New Year time. Like you go and you can queue hours to get in, and then you have to queue for everything. It's just, it really is like the worst sale to go to. But Next had a gorgeous pair of pink shoes in the window, like felt shoes, and I'd loved them, and I thought they're going to be going into the sale, so I actually queued up to get them in the sale. And when I got them, inside it said size 6L, size 6R, and I thought, oh no, one's a large and one's a regular, and they haven't got two in the exact same size. So I was going to put them down, and my mum was like, no, you've waited for them, you've queued for them, we've got here early, just ask them if they've got two identical ones at the back. So I waited in the queue for customer service in front of everyone to say, this one is a 6 large and this one is a 6 regular. Can I please just have, like, both of them fit? Can I just have two the same? And it turned out it was 6 left and 6 right, and I looked like a right numpty in the shop. And there was lots of people around, all finding it hilarious. But I got my shoes. But yeah, I walked out a little bit soul destroyed that day. So, right, to finish off my dogs, I'm going to pop in the dots. One at that end. One at that end. And it's funny because I remember walking out the store saying, don't ever tell anyone I did this, and then I've told everybody that story myself. So if you see L and R on shoes, they're left and right, people. So I just blinged up the bottom of that, and you know you can actually do that fine tip glue pen and Stella on the hearts on that card as well. That would look pretty good. So I'm just going to, this is a thick Whisper White that I've already cut in half and scored in half, so I'm just folding it now. And I'm going to pop this onto the card. I'm going to pop it on flush. I'm not going to bother with dimensionals or anything because these are already popped off. So multi-purpose liquid glue. Well, Colleen, I did think who's silly enough to get the left and right shoe confused, but I was silly enough to think it meant large and regular, so I wasn't really going to question any further. Okay, so there is my dog card. And the shoes, that's going to take a little bit to dry, just to pre-warn you if you do use the fine tip glue pen. While I love the effect it has, especially with the Stella, it does take a bit to dry. And if you stick your finger in it, it leaves your finger imprint, and trust me, that does not look good on a card. So make sure you just pop it off to the side and leave it for a bit. And I wouldn't recommend, I know that when I do my watercolours or when I do my blending and things, I like to just use the heat gun to speed up the process. I don't like doing it with a fine tip glue pen because, as I said, it does leave sort of imprints in it, and if it moves it just doesn't look as good, so you are better to let that just dry naturally. By the way, Karen Tilly, who's on here, she did an awesome card with the Dress to Impress suite this week. I think it must be my favourite card I've ever seen with the suite. So no pressure, Karen, but if you could share it in a crafty hangout, I'm sure everyone would love to see it because it was an amazing card. Loads of detail. Karen's got loads of patience. So there we go. Which one's your favourite? Your shoes or your dogs? Why are you telling me I am going to stick these last two hearts on? Because you know me, I can't actually just have them and not put them on. In fact, there was 3 that didn't make it on, so let me just... Oh, you're welcome, Kay. Thank you for joining again. These dogs are really cute. As soon as I saw them, I hadn't played with them on purpose because I knew that I wanted to pop them together and I knew that I hadn't got my silicone glue mat, so I had been waiting till I found it so I could play with the dogs. So this is my first time properly playing with them today and I love them. Norma. Shoes for Audrey. Oh, there we go. Glad I added them in as an extra. So yeah, thank you for joining me. I've got the whole week off this week work, so I think I'm going to be doing loads of crafting. And next week, therefore, hopefully we should have like something sort of wow that it's took me a week to do. So thanks for everyone for joining me. If you have played along or you do go off and do the mirror technique, do let me see what you've done. If you come across to Slim and Stylish's Crafty Hangout on Facebook, send a little request in, I'll approve it. And we have some albums in there for every live that we do, so pop in and add your bits and pieces. And I will see you next week. Have a lovely week, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks, Colleen. I'm holidaying Costa del House this week. But you know, with the COVID thing, I haven't really used any holiday from work, and all of a sudden they've messaged and said you've got a year worth of annual leave. So I was like, oh, I'll take the week off. So that would be nice and enjoyable. A bit of crafting to do, I think. But yeah, have a lovely week, everybody, and I will see you all soon. And on your way out, if you could leave me a little thumbs up if you have liked the video. And don't forget, if you are spending with me in August, if you spend over £60 and you use this hostess code, then you actually get the 4-season floral stamp set free. Okay, so see you all soon, and thanks for joining. Bye.